Good morning, Starshine. The world says hello.
Aw.
We always say hello here in Hollywood with a name drop. Good morning.
Yeah, I'm ignoring the name drop because Jody knows how jealous I am of her.
Sting
Right,
also
but-
sends his love and tells me to stop being such a name dropper. Okay. Charlie, you said
Hi.
you tweeted the only appropriate response to a hammer attack is horror and compassion.
Yeah.
Yep.
But given the chance, the right has decided, no, those aren't really for us. Thanks. I mean, that's what it is, right? I mean, they are awful humans.
Yeah, I give up with these people.
Yeah.
I no longer want to understand them. I no longer want to hear their complaints. I no longer want to hear that there's something concrete under all their violent foolishness. I don't want to hear about economic anxiety or industrial dislocation or whatever the sociology du jour is behind this. We've got a political party devoted to violent political action.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah.
As dedicated to it as the weathermen ever were.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is the Democratic Party never adopted the weathermen.
Yeah. But I mean, I was, even being a happy clappy liberal, I felt you. You said over the weekend, watching the reaction to the assault on Paul Pelosi, I just gave up. We're on the very brink of handing the country over to the lost and the mad. And that's, I mean, I didn't think this midterm can feel more important in a week, but this is just, it's just everything. You said, I've watched the steady descent of American conservatism and its primary public vehicle, the Republican Party, into the terminal depths of the prion disease. And it just, as we were saying today, after everything was debunked that they said over the weekend, they've just doubled and tripled down, right?
Well, apparently they've moved along now to this being some sort of deep state plot.
Yes.
Which is contradicted, I would point out, by the guy who committed the crime.
Right.
Yeah.
In his confession.
Yeah.
Which is quite honestly the most amazing transcript of a confession that I've seen since Jeffrey Dahmer's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I have in my file here somewhere. I'll do a dramatic reading of it.
Oh, great.
Oh, boy.
Thank you.
No, I think that the most telling line in it is, because it's all written in copies. I mean, the subject stated, the subject, averred, blah, blah, blah. And there's a line in it that says, the subject stated it takes about an hour to boil a head.
Okay.
Well, that fell down a well.
You write this week, the violence is general and increasingly detached from reality. They are beyond anyone's reach. They're beyond logic and reason. They've left democratic norms and customs far behind decades ago. They're beyond a political compromise. They're beyond checks and balances. They've drifted off into the void of space far beyond the Constitution. And you also I cited Max Boot yesterday. You said you appreciated what he wrote in the Post, and you, as you say, no one's definition of a libtard, but I don't blame you for not being hopeful, but you just ended by saying, I just can't anymore. These people are simply lost and mad. Their party's lost and mad. The political movement is simply lost and mad. Their candidates are simply lost and mad. We are on the very brink of handing the country over to the lost and mad. The prion disease has jumped from one subject population to the general public, and in too many ways it's creating its own reality in the national mind. We are all lost and mad. It doesn't sound like you have much of a prescription for how we get back, or do we?
Prescription. The only prescription is to crush these people in the ways provided by the Constitution, so that not only are they stripped of their political power, but they never rise again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's either that or any of the other solutions are worse than the disease. I mean, you're going to start rounding up people for what they said on Twitter, or I still have a great love for the First Amendment. I don't want to go that way, but these are not. You saw the latest story about this congressional candidate down in Texas who wrote a novel in which Anne Frank survives and comes to meet Jesus in Auschwitz.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yes.
That is so offensive on so many levels.
Right.
I can't count them all.
That's
This
like
guy's running for Congress.
Yeah, it's like an offensive lasagna or parfait.
Yes.
Bad
Yeah.
fanfic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more like an offensive gumbo.
But, speaking of electorally, there's a glitter of hope. You retweeted that Chuck Grassley's in a statistical tie. Someone tweeted Iowa's going to go blue tsunami incoming, and you just said, hello.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is a race that nobody's noticed.
Yeah.
Right.
And I wonder, by the guy he's running against, by the way, is named Mike Franken.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how many people in Iowa think they're voting for Al Franken.
That's
but I'll
fine.
take it. Seriously.
Yeah.
And it's life and death for old Chuck. And he's not, he's built for comfort. He ain't built for speed. He's not built for the home stretch right now.
Yeah.
So who knows? I think what you are going to see is a lot of split ticket voting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For example, I think in Iowa, Kim Reynolds is probably going to get reelected governor, but Grassley could lose.
Yeah.
Whitmer's going to win. I think the Democratic gubernatorial candidates are in great shape.
Do you? I hope so. Yeah.
Tony Evers in Wisconsin, I'm sending novenas upwards for, but
Yeah.
and I think a lot of them are. I think a lot of them are going to survive. Maura Healey's going to win, from here to there in Massachusetts. Not that we're typical of anything,
Right.
but
I guess it is astounding that speaking of statistical ties, Herschel Walker, has gone up despite all these allegations.
I don't believe any of the polling out of Georgia.
Yeah.
I really don't. Nobody's been able to predict Georgia correctly for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
I think that there's a whopping big vote down there who doesn't want to be represented in Congress by, a inarticulate doof.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's
see how I kept you safe from the FCC.
Yes.
Like that?
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
I mean, you're right. To Travis's point about polls, especially now, I mean, yeah, this one had him, swinging 4 points toward Walker, so it's like in a tie, basically. But then there was a New York Times Siena poll last week showed Warnock up by 3. I mean, it's like we were saying, some of it, I think, is deliberate, like what Joy Reid covered yesterday. There's a lot of Republican Commission polls that are meant to try to suppress Democratic vote.
They're infecting the average.
Right.
You get the Real Clear Politics average or the somebody else's average, and you've got 9 or 10 sub Rasmussen Republican polls. Yeah, it's going to screw up the average a little bit.
Do you have a
is
there a wind chime?
No, that's
look
his.
at the early voting numbers. Look at the turnout numbers.
Yeah.
That's his grandfather clock. It is 10:45 there. In
Oh,
Boston.
that's your grandfather clock. Pardon me. I thought it was a wind chime.
It was my grandmother's clock. It was in her house.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's lovely.
My Irish grandmother. It was on her mantelpiece. It was the first time I ever got quarter tones explained to me,
Oh, okay.
Ah.
and it's right behind my chair. So that's why it.
Got it.
I don't know. Usually not picked up by the laptop. That's interesting.
Oh.
But it really makes
better.
me feel. It makes me feel warm and homey.
Aw.
Aw, nice. So I don't know if you heard. I don't know if you heard Dr. Oz's latest, but here it is.
This is important. We do not have a Republican senator north of North Carolina on the Atlantic coast until you get to Maine if I don't hold this seat. And there's been a Republican senator in Pennsylvania most of my life. I'm going to keep one here as well.
So
There's a
he's
reason
thinking
why
of the
they're
Jersey
lying to
coast. He's thinking of the Jersey Shore.
Oh, that's right. That's right. There is no
Atlantic coast.
Pennsylvania is not
Right.
on the Atlantic seaboard.
is
That's
not.
true.
No, not even
I didn't think I'd forgotten New Jersey, as I usually do. But there's a reason why there hasn't been a Republican senator in any of those states. We're smarter than you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly. How are you feeling on the Fetterman Oz race?
I think Fetterman won the spin battle on the debate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think more people are admiring him for having the guts to run and to get up there with his obvious, obviously in recovery from a stroke, than are getting, that are attaching themselves to Mehmet Oz, who, is simply, he's not likable.
Right.
Yeah. Steve Bannon, let's see, what is his latest thing? Oh, that John Fetterman is a dangerous cyborg. He said
Cyborg?
this is a machine that actually helps his brain think through. Without the machine, he can't understand human conversation. He can't engage with people. So we'd call it a cyborg. You actually had a man-machine merger on the stage debate night.
Wow.
Wow.
That is, I can say anything on my podcast and those suckers will believe me.
Yep.
Classic. Wow. Does that mean he's going to take away the hearing aids from all the senators?
Yeah, right. I know.
Or Timmy Duckworth's wheelchair? Or
Yeah. They're just routinely awful. They're routinely awful as humans, not even a party anymore.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. Well, Charlie, best of luck to you.
A gathering of awful humans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the next Lemony Snicket novel.
Jody Hamilton is the antidote. That's how we believe
pure
goodness still
exists.
exists.
No question about that.
Yes.
I mean, Jody is the starshine in my morning. What can I tell you?
Aww.
Parting is such sweet sorrow.
Bye,
Say goodbye.
Charlie.
Ow.